más inteligente.
Bien. Muy buenos días a todas las personas. Bienvenidos a nuestro webinar informativo con New York Film Academy, ubicada en los Estados Unidos. Mi nombre es Karen Martínez, mucho gusto a todos. Hago parte del equipo de Consejería Académica y Relaciones Internacionales de COLFUTURO. Y el día de hoy nos está acompañando Gil Matos. Él es Regional Director para Latinoamérica y nos va a hablar sobre cosas supremamente importantes para todas las personas que estén pensando llevar a cabo un posgrado en este país y en esta gran institución adicionalmente. Así que si ustedes tienen interés en conocer oferta académica, opciones de hospedaje, opciones de financiación, becas y demás recomendaciones de utilidad, este va a ser el espacio ideal para que puedan adquirir toda la información, pero además puedan resolver cualquier inquietud que tengan al respecto. Quiero contarles y recordarles a todos que ya estamos cerrando este mes de noviembre con nuestros webinars informativos con universidades de convenio que están ubicadas en Estados Unidos y Países Bajos. Así que no se pueden perder todas estas oportunidades de contactarse con un representante de cada institución académica y de adquirir información supremamente relevante para su proyecto profesional y académico. Entonces, bueno, en el marco de estos webinars que como ustedes ya saben los hacemos con universidades con las que tenemos acuerdos, pues con New York Film Academy tenemos un convenio que consta de que la universidad ofrecerá un descuento de máximo 40% en el valor de la matrícula para todos los beneficiarios de COLFUTURO. Así que si ustedes quieren adquirir este descuento, quieren adquirir todos los beneficios que les ofrece esta institución, no se pueden perder este espacio. Sin mayor preámbulo, Gil, thank you so much for being here today with us. We are so happy to have you here. You can go ahead and start your presentation.
Great, great. Thank you. Buenos días a todos. And thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to work with COLFUTURO and the wonderful students that we get from COLFUTURO as well. We've had a partnership with y'all since 2014 when I started working at New York Film Academy, and we've had some amazing students that have gone on to do really, really good things with their careers. So yeah, I want to start off here. I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown. I'm going to show you all a couple of videos just so you get a better understanding of the school for those of you that may not be super familiar with it. Then I'll go through a slide with some detailed information on it. And then the most important part of this, we want to open it up to your questions, right? Tus dudas sobre los programas. So definitely try to, as you're going along, as you're seeing the videos or seeing the presentation, think of your questions, and then we are going to have a time afterwards to address all of those questions. So I am going to just set this up here, and then we're going to watch the first couple of videos, and we'll get started with that.
My name is Michael Young. I'm president of the New York Film Academy, and I'd like to welcome you to our video. Over the last 2 decades, the New York Film Academy has become one of the most prominent institutions. We believe in learning by doing. You're going to start on your first project, day 1 of the program. We want to help you find the best program for you.
They learn about cinematography, about screenwriting, about acting. You're going to learn all the different components of filmmaking.
The heart of our program is teaching actors skills to work on camera.
A good producer has to see the big picture. Learning the industry is as important as learning the technical aspect of filmmaking.
I teach them loading cameras, learning to light, building a set, understanding where to place those lights.
Screenwriting is the basic element of all visual storytelling. If you write from your experience, from the things that you love, breaking down the characters and creating a world of your own, then you create amazing stories.
People learn things quickly, integrate them quickly, apply them quickly, learn to make documentaries by making documentaries.
You are learning how to dance, you are learning how to sing, you are learning how to act.
With teachers who are on Broadway, so they can tell you, no, this is what happens when you walk in the door.
You have to consider the global marketplace.
There's limitless potential with animation.
The main takeaway is you're going to learn how games work as systems and be a very facile and capable system designer.
Journalism helps us figure out the chaotic lives that we live now. We can start to make sense of what's going on around us.
Students photograph architecture, lifestyle, fashion, food, people, portraits, and it gives students a great opportunity to create incredible work.
The faculty at the New York Film Academy are all present-day, current working industry professionals.
We have campuses in New York, Los Angeles, South Beach, Miami, and Gold Coast, Australia, plus a location in Florence, Italy, as well as satellite locations all over the world.
The New York Film Academy campus in New York City is located in Battery Park in Manhattan. They can use the entire city as their backlot.
We're right on the doorstep of Warner Brothers and Universal Studios. We have production classes on the Universal Studios backlot.
The New York Film Academy in Miami is a film school that was made by filmmakers.
South Beach is our backlog.
We have short-term workshops, one-year conservatory programs, as well as associate, bachelor, and master degree programs. During the summer months, we also offer hands-on youth and high school summer camps where students can learn storytelling while meeting new friends and having fun.
The facilities and equipment we have here at the New York Film Academy are incredible.
We strive to have as much cutting-edge equipment as possible so students can attend our program, learn the equipment, and then go and start working.
New York Film Academy Industry Lab. It is an opportunity for students to gain professional experience.
We help our students every step of the way. We offer services for housing, financial aid, international visa applications, as well as career and veteran services. One of the most thrilling experiences for our students is our guest lecture series. They get a chance to interact with some of the top figures in the entertainment industry, such as Steven Spielberg, Al Pacino, Ron Howard. It's truly an exciting experience for the entire campus.
The most important thing for any discipline in filmmaking or related arts is to tell a story.
The story.
Story.
Story. Storytelling.
Story. Stories.
Story.
We're cultivating storytellers.
Feeds the energy here from more than 80 countries. We have students from the United States, Australia, Russia, China, Africa, Latin America, the Middle East. They bring so many different perspectives to the work. It allows our students to develop an international network.
So many talented students who go on to work at every level of the media and entertainment industry.
Any student who studies at New York Film Academy,
As soon as they graduate, they're going to be out there and they'll be able to make movies.
They are ready to be business people, not just artists.
We're really preparing our students to succeed in this business.
You're going to get a hands-on experience that you're not going to get in any film school in the world.
Soy de Panamá.
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Quito, Ecuador.
Uruguay.
La Ciudad de México.
Colombia.
Colombia.
Bogotá, Colombia.
En mi país tengo 10 años de carrera como actriz en teatro y televisión. Decidí venir acá a Los Ángeles porque quería aprender y ganar experiencia en el ámbito del film como actriz.
Me interesa dirigir documentales, especialmente me encantaría viajar por el mundo y filmar distintas culturas, distintas personas, porque creo que la realidad es mucho más fantástica que la ficción.
Me encanta escribir y leer desde que soy niño. Siempre he sido como fanático del guión, porque es cuando todo sucede. Es como la columna de una película, la columna vertebral.
Muchas personas me preguntan, bueno, ¿actúas o produces? Y yo les respondo, ambas. En New York Film Academy me ha dado la oportunidad de combinar ambas cosas. Creo que es la felicidad más grande porque estoy haciendo dos cosas que me apasionan.
En Colombia trabajaba como director de fotografía, pero estaba un poco estancado en un mismo nivel. Por eso vine acá a aprender muchas otras técnicas para regresar y como subir de nivel.
Por lo general las carreras son muy prácticas, en términos de que siempre estás haciendo cosas. No estás todo el tiempo en un aula leyendo un libro.
El primer día de escuela, mi maestra nos puso a escribir pequeñas historias, lo cual dije, wow, y a la semana ya estábamos trabajando en nuestro primer guión.
Todos mis maestros trabajan en la industria, tienen muchísimas experiencias y anécdotas.
Puedes tener consultaciones con todos los profesores que quieras, las veces que quieras.
Todas las semanas hay un Q&A con alguien que tuvo éxito con alguno de sus proyectos y generalmente son gente muy reconocida.
New York Film Academy ofrece diferentes workshops y diferentes intercambios con Universal y con Warner.
Es una oportunidad muy buena poder estar en un estudio de grabación tan grande como de Universal.
Puedes hacer tus trabajos ahí, puedes practicar ahí.
NAIFA da oportunidades muy chéveres.
El acceso a las cámaras, el acceso a las locaciones.
Y eso sin duda alguna me llamó muchísimo la atención. Yo dije, este es un lugar donde puedes encontrar muchas oportunidades, muchos contactos.
La escuela le importa mucho conectar sus diferentes programas de actuación, filmación, guión.
No solo estás en el departamento con los actores, sino también puedes trabajar con directores, con productores, con fotógrafos.
Aquí todo se trata de la colaboración.
New York Film Academy tiene algo muy especial que es lo multicultural.
Hay personas de todas partes del mundo.
He conocido gente de Rusia,
de China, Mozambique,
Italia,
Brasil, Malasia.
Que igual que uno, están en un lugar extraño buscando aprender. En el mejor de los casos nos obliga a abrirnos un poco.
Siempre está el enriquecimiento de trabajar con gente diferente porque siempre puedes aprender algo.
Que también puedes agregar a tus películas cuando las haces.
La verdad es que Los Ángeles es hermoso, las playas.
Es colorida, es visual, es dinámica.
Hice mi primer año en Nueva York. Nueva York es la ciudad que nunca duerme y me encanta porque también vengo de una ciudad muy agitada que es Bogotá.
Vine directamente a Miami porque es una ciudad que es muy diversa y es bastante latina en sí.
Una vez ya teniendo los contactos que tú hiciste en Miami, New York o en LA, tú ya puedes aplicar todo eso a lo que tú quieres hacer de tus propias películas.
La experiencia que uno gana acá es completamente inimaginable.
No es tanto de dónde vienes, sino es algo más de lo que tú tienes para decir, es algo de lo que tú aportas a las personas, al mundo. Los documentales que me gustaría hacer y los que estoy haciendo ya desde antes, por lo general tienen un fin social. Me gusta denunciar cosas que creo que están mal o que creo que deberían cambiarse.
Si una historia pone en perspectiva una pequeña pregunta sobre cada uno de nosotros, bien, sobre la familia, sobre el amor, sobre los conflictos, sobre la guerra.
Son las historias que me tocan el corazón, no me importa mucho el género.
Yo quiero saber que mi comedia está haciendo feliz a las personas.
Y eso solo se logra si amas lo que haces.
Las únicas personas que realmente logran lo que quieren son los que realmente lo quieren por dentro.
Esta universidad te da muchas herramientas, pero también la carrera la haces tú.
Te dan todas las herramientas para cumplir tu sueño, para contar tu historia.
Es una oportunidad muy grande. Esa es la razón por la cual vine al Unidos.
Alrighty. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint here.
News and background.
So one thing that's really funny about that video that I always say is that all of those students that you saw in there, I worked with them at some point or another throughout their process, and none of them think they have an accent, which is funny. So it's going crazy over here. So awesome. All right. So as you can see, you know, with New York Film Academy, the campuses that we have, and for our master programs, right? Our master programs are only offered in Los Angeles and in Miami. But you are able to do, and you saw one of the students there talking about how she did her first year in New York and then the second year in Los Angeles. So for the master programs, as long as you're finishing in either Miami or LA, you're able to do and start in New York for 1 year. And this is going to depend on the program. It's a little confusing, but some of the programs do transfer into the master program. So like if you did the 1 year in New York, you would do the second year in Miami or LA. So you can do that with a program like filmmaking, a program like photography, a program like producing. You cannot do it with acting. And then obviously some of the programs we don't offer in New York, you won't be able to do that with those, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? So anyways, our master programs, we do offer them, like I said, in LA and Miami for the most part. Our Miami campus is that is our newest campus. We opened that in 2011, so newest. You know, it's like almost 14 years old. But we did just expand it immensely in Miami. So right now it's about 4 times the size of what it was before. We had an article in Variety magazine, which is the industry standard here in the U.S. for anything related to film and cinema. You guys can check that out if you have a chance, but we basically renovated the entire campus. We have 3 different production spaces inside of it. And Miami is a great place to study as well. For a lot of people from Latin America, because they have family in Miami, it might help with the housing and saving some money on that as well. And also you're just about 3.5 hours from Colombia. And like I always say, if you want to get some ajiaco, some arepas, some empanadas, some buñuelos, you can still get that here in Miami, right? So not too far from home. But like I said, our master programs, we have 2 different types. So anything that's an MFA is a Master of Fine Arts. That is a terminal degree. That's the highest degree that you can get in the arts because there are no doctorates in art, right, in fine arts. So Master of Fine Arts would be a 2-year program. The Master of Arts is a 1-year program. So that Master of Arts program, that's a 1-year program, is our Masters in Film and Filmmaking, Cinematography, Documentary Film, Photography, Producing, and Screenwriting. Those are all 2-year masters that we offer. There's also a acting for film, which is a 2-year masters as well. And then the media arts ones would be 3D animation and then also game design. Those are the media arts masters that we offer in Los Angeles. Those 2 are offered only in LA because if you're studying 3D animation and visual effects, you want to be where the big studios are because they're the ones paying for all that, right? And then game design, all of those game design studios and companies are, for the most part, they're in Los Angeles. So it's a great place to be for that. Again, I want to remind you that if you have any questions, please write them down because we will leave a lot of time at the end of this for your questions. So why New York Film Academy, right? There's a lot of schools that offer filmmaking, acting, cinematography. So what makes us very different? And I would say it starts with the philosophy of the school. Here, you will learn from the very first day that you're there, you are getting your hands dirty with stuff and getting involved with it. So our philosophy is we want you to learn by doing, right? So it's definitely not the type of school where you're going to hear lectures for 2 years and then in your final year, you're finally going to pick up a camera. No. Here, you're going to have the opportunity right away to start working on different things. So I'll give you an example of this. Filmmaking students, your first year in that master's, you are going to write, direct, produce, and edit 8 short films of your own that you're in charge of, that you're the director and producer of, and you're going to work on 20 additional films because you'll be working with your classmates on their projects. So on your classmates' project, you might be their sound person, you might be the lighting person, but you're learning all those different positions within a crew, but you're making 8 films of your own that first year. The second year, right? But your final year, you're working on a full-length feature film that would be anywhere between 20, 25 minutes long. That you'll be writing, directing, producing, and doing all that, but also working as a crew member with your classmates. Those of you interested in something like acting, right? Actors, I've seen actors that do anywhere between 30 to 35 different roles that they have to prepare for in a year, right? Because you're doing stuff in your class, you're shooting scenes in your class, but also you're collaborating with the filmmaking students, the producing students, the cinematography students, the photography students. They all need actors for their projects. So you're having a lot of opportunity to interact within those departments, right? I mentioned before, a lot of schools offer filmmaking, a lot of schools offer acting, a lot of schools offer these programs, but at very few, if any of those schools, do those programs and departments collaborate with each other. We encourage that collaboration here. If you're a director, it's extremely important that you learn how to communicate with actors while you're on set. That's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of frustration, right? Actors, you want to learn how to get directed by directors, by people who are doing this, who know exactly what they want, not just your friend who's also an actor and is hitting play on the camera, right? So, I think all of those things go hand in hand, and you start building that network as well while you're in school. So that hands-on learning is very, very, very important. Those of you interested in a program like animation or game design, those programs are going to mimic what it's like to work in a studio related to that, right? So if you're doing animation, you're obviously learning things like Maya, ZBrush, Nuke. You're learning all those industry standard softwares, but you're also creating animations, you're also creating stories, and you're learning visual effects as well. Game design is going to learn it's going to mimic a studio, right? So you're going to learn every position that exists within a game design studio. That number 2 that you see on here, industry experienced faculty, that's extremely important because you're learning from people who are out there doing it, right? All of our teachers are active working professionals in the industry. So you're not just learning from somebody who's been teaching out of a book for 20 years. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for these specific things, something that's hands-on, you want somebody who's out there working with the latest, greatest technology, right? Someone who's out there and knows the industry. Someone who's out there who, if they like you, could possibly help you as well later on, right? So the industry experienced faculty, that's a huge plus because you're learning from people who are giving you all the information that you're going to need regarding the industry here in the United States. Global network and industry connections. You saw our alumni in the video. That's just a few of the alumni. I encourage you to go to our webpage. There's a section there for alumni where you can see by program what different alumni are doing. But you'll have access to the alumni network. We also have 2 different departments that work with you. One is the industry outreach team. The other one is the film festival team, right? Industry outreach, their job is to make sure that you're you have a reel ready to go. You have a plan ready for when you graduate. They help you formulate a plan. They tell you where you might be able to find production jobs, where you can audition, taking classes related to the business of what you're studying as well. So their job is to really prepare you for that industry. That's industry outreach. I will rewind a little bit and say this. Any film, acting, art school that guarantees you work after you graduate is lying to you. There are no guarantees in this, right? What I can tell you is that we will do everything we can. You're going to get a lot of experience while you're in school, and we're going to put you in that position there so that you hit the ground running when you graduate. But there are no guarantees. Nobody can go to a producer and say, hey, you need to hire this person. You need to do that. They have their money invested in it. They have their reputation invested in it. They're going to get what they want, right? So there are no guarantees related to that, but I can tell you, you're going to be in a great position with industry outreach, the classes you're taking there, the projects you're creating as well, in a great position to hit the ground running when you graduate. The other team I mentioned there was the film festival team. And just like it sounds, their job is to get your midterm projects and your final projects strategically into different film festivals. Film festivals are a great way for you to start not only networking and meeting people, but also starting to get some eyes on your projects and get some recognition on stuff, right? So it's a great way to do that. We just had a student from Chile who, very interesting story, because when she started, she was had no confidence at all, right? She's like, I know I like doing this, but I don't know if this is something that I can do, right? So no, this is what you want to do, go through it. So she went through the program. Even the first day that she was there, she was very, very nervous about it. I tell this story because she went through the program and it was awesome to see her progressing through it, right? She did the 1-year program, not the master's. But by the end of the program, very confident, very in charge of what she was doing. She just won a top award for student films at the top student film festival in the world, right? So, and the thing that was really, really cool about it, in the credits, half of the people in those credits were people that she went to school with. So all the people that she liked working with, that she knew how they worked, she helped them out and brought them on there with them too. So again, it's a really good way to start getting some eyes on stuff. So the film festival team will help you strategically put your films into different film festivals. And the final thing you see on here, comprehensive multidisciplinary programs. So in key locations, obviously, if you're in the United States, those are the places you want to be. You want to be in New York, you want to be in LA, you want to be in Miami for these type of things, for anything related to visual and performing and media arts. Our programs, again, multidisciplinary. What does that mean? So if you're an actor, you're going to take a class in screenwriting. You're going to take a class that's basically directing for actors so that you understand what it's like on the other side of the camera. Filmmakers, you're going to learn a little bit of acting. Filmmakers, you're going to learn producing, you're going to learn screenwriting, you're going to learn directing, cinematography, post-production. So you're learning a little bit of everything related to different industries. And the reason we do that is, like, so for example, we're going to give you all the skill sets that you're going to need to confidently audition for roles when you graduate. But we don't want you just sitting around waiting for auditions, right? So if you want to create your own projects, you want to write your own projects, you want to collaborate and start doing that, you have those tools to do that as well. So that's why that is very, very important. Learning those cross-departmental skills, extremely important. Again, I want to encourage you, write your questions down. We will have a time afterwards for it. So I mentioned a little bit of what makes us different. You're learning all this stuff on cutting edge equipment. As you can see behind me, now this isn't real. I'm in my office. But you're learning this on cutting edge equipment, right? So you have top of the line cameras. You're learning this all in the industry standard software. So we're using Avid to edit video. We're using DaVinci for color. We're using Pro Tools for sound. We have, and obviously you won't start with these cameras. You won't start with like the Reflex. You won't start with the red cameras. But you work your way up to those things when you're finally working on your final project. You're working with about $150,000 worth of camera equipment to make your project. So all your projects have that professional quality look to it. The hands-on, I mentioned that already, how it prepares you for the industry, learning about different fields as well. Over 50% of our student body is international. And I think that's very, very unique because, you guys in Colombia make movies differently than they make them in England, than they make them in Italy, than they make them in Japan, right? Then they make them in Korea. So everybody who's in your class is bringing a different perspective, and it's really cool to start learning that stuff as well. Also, if you ever want to make a movie in another country, you're going to have connections in those countries, right? Because you'll know somebody from there that can help you facilitate that. I mentioned these things here, industry outreach and film festivals team, and how they help you prepare you for the end once you graduate. Our agreement, like we mentioned earlier, if you are selected for COLFUTURO, we will automatically give you 40% of the tuition. We'll give you a scholarship for 40% of the tuition, right? And obviously with COLFUTURO, you'd be counting on $25,000 per year. I think that's still correct. So that $25,000 with the 40%, you're pretty much covering all your tuition there with that, so that you only have to worry about housing and living expenses and all that. So it is a really, really cool opportunity. And like I mentioned before, like it's a lot of, all the students that we get from COLFUTURO are fantastic. But actually, the video that you saw, all 3 of those students from Colombia, they were COLFUTURO recipients. And are all doing amazing stuff with their. Those awards can be combined with other things that we offer. So please just keep in mind the maximum that New York Film Academy can offer is 50%, right? So that'll depend on a couple of other things. But if you are selected for COLFUTURO, you already get 40% out of the way and you get that automatically, which is a huge, huge help. Some of the other awards that we offer, and again, I always mention this because, you know, pesos to dollars is expensive, dollars to dollars is expensive. But one thing that you're going to apply for automatically, because one of the requirements is going to be an audition or a portfolio. So that will automatically be assessed for a talent-based scholarship, right? So again, based on your audition or your creative portfolio. If you're doing acting, it's an audition. Anything else, it will be a creative portfolio. These are all the awards we have, but to be honest with you, if you are selected for COLFUTURO, you get the 40%. That additional 10% to get you to 50 will be taken care of with the talent-based award. So you wouldn't have to do all these. These other things here are helpful though, because if you're not selected for COLFUTURO, you would be eligible for all these other things as well that could help you out a little bit. So needs-based award, when you're applying for the application, it'll ask you if you would like to be considered for needs-based award. It will ask you for some financial information. So I encourage you to apply for that as well. Merit-based will not apply to you because you guys are all master's students. So merit-based is only for the bachelor programs. But if you do have experience in the industry, the Matthew Modine Master Scholarship is something you might be eligible for a little extra money as well. That is for people who have some experience in the industry already of what they're looking to study, right? So Matthew Modine, if you're not familiar with him by name, if you watch Stranger Things, he is Papa in Stranger Things. He's on the board of New York Film Academy. DEI grant, I encourage you all to apply for this as well, as this could be extra money. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We obviously want to get more students, diverse students in here. Remember, 50% international. So that's definitely something I encourage you to apply to as well. But all this will be taken care of, you know, very first step in the process, start your application, and then just go through that process online on our website. In terms of housing, so housing is going to be, and I apologize for all the Miami pictures presentation. Housing in LA or Miami, which again, remember, this is where our master programs are offered. We don't have dorm rooms, but a lot of you, your master students, you don't want to be living with 18 and 19-year-olds in the dorms anyways. So we do have a housing coordinator that will help you look for housing near the school. We have a lot of apartments that are near the school that our students stay in. So for example, in LA, we're in the Burbank section of LA. It's a lot of different apartment complexes that are close to the school that our students stay in. In Miami, I would say that about 90% of our students that are not from Miami, they live within 10, 15, 20 minutes walking of where the school is. Miami, we always joke around that when we have a friend that moves to Miami Beach, that we're never going to see them because they don't get off the island. You have everything you need there. You know, so very few times do they come back to the mainland. But we can help you with housing. We can help you with searching for roommates as well. And then, like I said, we also have a lot of preferred housing partners that we can also put you in contact with, and realtors, trusted realtors to put you in contact with. One thing I will say is be very, very careful. And the more time that goes on here, the more savvy everybody is with these things. But just be careful with getting in touch with realtors you don't know or anything. There's a lot of scams, right? So if you see something online that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Just make sure that you work with our housing coordinator or, you know, a trusted realtor to make sure that it is an actual apartment, right? And don't send money ahead of time. I'm happy to help you all out with any of that stuff. I'm happy to make sure that somebody is a real realtor or not and check. I've done that before. I call them up. I go to their office to visit them, make sure they're there. So if it's reasonable. But yeah, so don't send anything ahead of time. Another thing to note is Miami campus, we have different apartments that are furnished that students can rent, right? And the reason I mention this is because as international students, it will be hard for you, or a little harder, to get an apartment because you don't have credit established here in the United States. So they might ask you for your first month, last month, security deposit, and then an additional month's rent, right? So the good thing about the apartments that New York Film Academy offers in Miami is that they're already furnished. You don't have to worry about utilities or anything like that. And you don't have to put all those things up front, right? Because we know you're coming here and you're a student, right? So, but I will say if you are going to apply for those, apply for the school, make sure you're accepted early in the process. because those do fill up. So that's my advice with that. The other thing here is our international student office, right? So we will help you with your visa application. It's an F1 student visa that you will need, a student visa. This is a lot easier to get than a tourist visa. I know people are saying that there's a lot of delay on visas. Not with the student visas. Student visa is a quick turnaround time on that. Don't worry, Trump isn't going to stop this either. This brings in a lot of money to the country. So you know, they're not going to stop F1 student visas. So the I-20 process and everything, this is after you've been accepted already. There's a $500 deposit that you would pay to reserve your spot in the class. It's not an additional charge. It's taken off of your tuition fee, but it tells us that you're reserving your spot and you want to start the additional process. After you pay the deposit, our housing coordinator will work with you and our international student office will work with you, and they'll help you through this process of doing your I-20 application. Once you have your I-20 and you've submitted your financial documents, then we will issue you the I-20 electronically and you can make the appointment at the embassy for your student visa. This last thing I have on here, some of you may or may not know what OPT is, but optional practical training. This is for any program of a year or longer, so it certainly applies to our master programs. And it's really cool. So what this will be is that once you graduate from your program of a year or 2 years, you will be able to stay in the United States working legally with a social security number, and hopefully getting experience within the industry and whatnot. Now, you know, I mentioned this and I mention it with caution because sometimes people only hear this and, oh, you said I can get this. I want to mention it with caution. It is a possibility for you to get it, but it is not something that should be expected because it is difficult to get, but it does exist. Not OPT, but I mean after OPT, right? Getting sponsorship, right? So you saw one of the girls that was on there, the one that in the video, Melissa, who said that she does acting and producing. Melissa actually got sponsored and she stayed in the United States working, so she was able to get a work visa and stay working here as well. But that is a possibility for you to get hired and get work and work afterwards as well and get a either an artist visa or a work visa. I've seen the artist visa given as well. So although again, should not be expected because it is hard to get, it is a possibility that you might be able to get that as well. But at the very least, you do have the option of doing OPT for 1 year after you graduate and working legally in the States afterwards. So you saw in the video some of our alumni. So here's, again, another list. You know, Manuel Garcia Rulfo, if you guys watch The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix, he's an alumni of our programs. Bill Hader as well, Show Barry, he's been in a lot of stuff in Saturday Night Live. Aubrey Plaza, Parks and Recreation from White Lotus as well. Issa Rae from Insecure. Issa Rae studied filmmaking with us, but she's also an actor. She's also a producer. She's also a writer, right? So remember I mentioned those cross-departmental classes? That's what we want you to be, right? Same thing with Bill Hader, writer, director, actor, right? So we want you guys to have all those tools so that you're able to really expand in the industry. But again, you can check out on the webpage, our alumni page, and see what everybody's up to. Guest speakers, so you will have access to our guest speaker series. So we have speakers that come on campus, or sometimes they do them virtually as well, but these are some of the speakers we've had in the past. As you can see, obviously it's a lot of big names in the industry related to different disciplines as well. So you will have access to those, los duros, like I say, right? And then our different locations, like I mentioned, Miami and LA are the ones where the masters are offered. Some of those programs you could start in New York and do the 1 year in New York, and then you would have to end in Miami or in LA. And then these other campuses are they're full campuses, but they don't offer degree programs there. Also, as international students, I really recommend if you're doing it in this industry, if you're trying to do something within the film, visual, media, and performing arts industry, do it in the United States because you're going to want to have that year afterwards of OPT, and the industry here is enormous compared to a lot of other countries which have much smaller industries. So that's my big piece of advice with that. And then, yeah, if you're ready to start the process, you know, you can start your application online here. What you would do is you would start by creating a profile in there. Once you submit your application with the application fee, now you have an application in the system. You can upload all of your requirements to it. For the master programs, the requirements that we're going to need is I'll need obviously your notas de la universidad, diploma, un ensayo, dos cartas de recomendaciones, so they can be from a teacher, somebody you work for. They do need to be in English, right? We'll need your English exam. So you can do, we accept TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. And then you'll also need to do your creative portfolio or audition. And if you apply to the program, I'll set up a time personally with you to go over a Zoom call. We will go over different portfolios. I'll show you examples of how to do it and how to organize it and how to do all that stuff as well. So, and then, yeah, here's my contact information. If you want to get in contact with me, I'll leave this slide up while we ask questions, but that's my WhatsApp number for work. Feel free to write me a message on there. And like I said, we work very, very closely with you through the process, especially for COLFUTURO students. So, yeah, thank you. Do we have a bunch of questions, Karen?
Well, Gil, thank you so much for this amazing information and all the details that you provide us. Thank you. Yes, we have some questions for you. So, well, the first question is, what are the approximate costs of studying at the New York Film Academy?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's going to depend on the program that they want to study, right? So there are, a lot of different programs that we offer, the most expensive one being filmmaking or cinematography, which is going to be, without any scholarships or anything, that's going to be close to about $52,000 per year. But remember, I mentioned, if you get COLFUTURO, that's going to be 40% off right away. And then you're also eligible for an additional 10%. That's going to cover, along with what COLFUTURO gives you as well, that'll cover most of your tuition. Something like screenwriting, since you're not using hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment, that's a little cheaper. So screenwriting is going to run you at about $37,000 per year. Acting is going to be about 40 program that you apply to.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Do you require an English specific exam, maybe IELTS or TOEFL? And what?
Yeah, so we do require the TOEFL, IELTS, or the Duolingo. So for the master programs, we do require a little higher score on that one. So you're gonna need, I believe, let me look this up here. You would think I would know this, right? I've been here for 14 years. It's we changed them recently. Yeah, so TOEFL is gonna be 79. Or higher on the internet-based one, 6.5 if you're doing the IELTS, and then if you're doing the Duolingo, it's going to have to be a 101 on the Duolingo. So, Karen, do you guys accept Duolingo? Does it have to be TOEFL or IELTS?
Bueno, voy a hablar en español y luego lo digo en inglés. Cuando la universidad le solicite al beneficiario un examen específico, sea IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo, Cambridge, el que sea, COLFUTURO lo va a aceptar también. Siempre y cuando haga parte del proceso de admisión, sí. Ya si de pronto la universidad no lo solicitara, sí tenemos unos exámenes específicos establecidos que sí son solo IELTS y TOEFL para el caso de inglés.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, what makes a strong candidate for this kind of programs?
Yeah, great question. I always want somebody who has tried doing this already. The master programs, remember, they're going to hold you at a higher standard than if it were a bachelor program, right? So depending on the program you are applying to, in that creative portfolio, we want to focus on stuff that you've done related to this, right? So some people might not have, if you're applying for filmmaking, maybe you did business, or maybe you did derechos in undergrad because your parents wanted you to do that, and now you want to do a master's in what you want to do, right? So maybe you don't have all that stuff already, but there's different things that we can show on there to show that you can narratively tell a story. And I always tell people, you saw the first video, they talk about story, story, story. All of these things are related and circled around a good story. So showing us that you can tell a good story is going to be a very, very big thing. But obviously, if you have videos that you've shot, movies you've made, things like that, then we will include that on a portfolio. But I will say this, every single one of you that applies, we will set up a time on Zoom, one-on-one, to go over some of the stuff that you have. I'll show you how to organize it, how to present it, because there's a certain way to present it to admissions. It's not a reel. A reel is great to get a job, but for admissions into a school, a reel doesn't show me what your role was. It doesn't show me a story. It shows me just different examples of your work, right? So we want to make sure that we're presenting a portfolio in the way the school is asking for, to make sure that you are able to get that acceptance and then also that talent base. Yeah, but students that have done this before or have tried it, I always tell people, look, Leo Messi did not get that good because he just picks up a ball when it's game time, right? There's tens of thousands of hours of practice that goes into it. The same thing with this. You got to keep practicing, keep doing it. You're going to create stuff now that you're going to look at 2-3 years from now that you're going to cringe. You're going to be, oh my God, what was I thinking? But that's growth. That's what this is all about, right? That's growth and learning. So
Perfect. Well, we have another question from Juan, and he's asking, it's possible to access to a 1-year program and obtain the discount of the 40% on the tuition fee, or it only apply for masters from 2 years?
yeah, so it's I mean, with COLFUTURO, you're only going to be able to do it with a master's. So so the you would have to do the 1-year master's in order to take advantage of that. Now, if you're applying for internal scholarships in New York Film Academy, I mentioned all those scholarships earlier. That applies to any program that's a year or longer. Now, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a 40%, like, because once you get COLFUTURO, you're guaranteed you're getting the 40%, which is high up on what we normally give. But you would be eligible for it, and it's going to be determined on a bunch of different things. You'll be eligible for, sometimes it's 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40% as well. So depending on what you're mixing and matching, again, the strength of your application and all that, you might be eligible for that financing. The good thing is, like, again, with COLFUTURO, if you're accepted and COLFUTURO selects you, then you're automatically getting that 40% regardless. So
perfect. Well, Gil, we don't have any more questions for you, so thank you again for all this interesting information. This institution is an unmissable destination for all those who want to pursue an artistic career. We learned a lot from you today, so thank you very much, and we hope to have many opportunities to impart this information in the future.
Thank you very much for having me. And I just want to add one more thing. Like a question that I get a lot is that, are you able to work while you're here in the country? And unfortunately, with the student visa at New York Film Academy, since we're not a huge school, we don't have like different positions for people to go into. So you're not able to work while you're here. You would have to just wait till you do the OPT. But the only other thing is like that I would add is that while you're here, just remember that every single person that's under this roof here is somebody that's studying something related to the industry, right? We don't offer business, we don't offer law, we don't offer all these other majors. Everybody who's under that roof is a screenwriter, a producer, a director, a photographer, an actor, right? So take advantage of that, because one of the cool things that I see here is that people start doing projects outside of school and they start creating these groups and start making stuff as well. So take advantage of that and make the most out of your time at the school. And I always tell this story too. In 1977, there was 2 directors in Hollywood making sci-fi films. One of them was Steven Spielberg, working off of the success of Jaws that he made the previous year. He was making a movie called Close Encounters of a Third Kind. And his friend comes to his set and sees this movie. And he's like, oh my God, your props, your story, all this is amazing. This is going to kill my movie. And Spielberg says, no, calm down. I like your story. You have a good story. He goes, let's make a deal. I'll give you 2.5% of what my movie makes. You give me 2.5% of what your movie makes. That way, if one of us is successful, the other one isn't, we'll make some money. So Spielberg goes on. Close Encounters comes out, makes about $350 million worldwide. Remember, this is 1977, not $25 tickets, right? Spielberg to the stratosphere. His buddy that was working on a movie was George Lucas, who was working on a movie called Star Wars. Needless to say, to this day, he's made about $50 million off of his buddy, George Lucas. And I mentioned that story because those two came up together. They worked on a lot of projects together. If any 2 people in this world could have egos that would have gotten in the way and prevented them from working, it's those 2 guys, and they made it work. So I always say, you're not Spielberg, you're not Lucas, not yet. Make the most of your time here, and I guarantee you guys are gonna do really, really well when you graduate. So Karen, again, thank you very much for your time. We love our relationship with COLFUTURO. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate everybody who joined us here today.
No, thank you to you, Gil. Thank you so much for this excellent story, for this excellent information and presentation. Thank you, and see you again in the next opportunity. Goodbye. A todos nuestros asistentes, también mil gracias por su participación y su interés. Los invitamos a contactarse directamente con Gil si está entre sus planes realizar un posgrado en esta institución académica. Muchas gracias.